And we're back with episode 37 of Dog Football Weekly. It's your host, Reed, with the co host.
Russ.
And today, Russ, take two already of this podcast. Our first one just got paused. But, tell us a little bit about that Pacelli game Friday. Tell me just big time win for the Hornets. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, we came into the game. We were number 10 in the state, and Pacelli was number 1 or 2, depending on what poll you look at. And the Hornets came out with a big upset and showed the world what we're about. We're planning on doing it in the playoffs this week. So just go Hornets, man.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, Russ, as we're sitting here right now, college football playoff polls are coming out once again on Tuesday night. Georgia comes in again as number 2. Just tell me kind of your initial thoughts on that, how much emphasis you put on that, and kind of what you think of that.
Well, I think it's kind of a complex situation. Georgia has not proven that they are not the number 1 team, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So the poll doesn't mean too much to me, other than Kirby Smart's going to use that as motivation for his players that they don't think you're good enough, and we got to go show them. But yeah, I don't put too much emphasis on that because, in my opinion, the whole thing is really just some group's opinion on who's better, and you take Georgia out of number 1 for what reason? You know?
Well, there's the committee, we talked about this a little bit, but the committee's kind of main reasoning is, you look at Ohio State and what they've accomplished and where they played, strength of schedule and all that. And I think that's valid. That's a true statement. Ohio State has 2 big-time wins. And, they went to South Bend and they won a big-time game. But, I'm looking at it right now right in front of me. Why is Florida State at 4? Why is Florida State at 4 instead of 3 or even 2? And why is Washington at 5? Because they have 2 big wins. Texas should be, you can make the case if it's all about resume and what you've accomplished, Texas should be up there too, even though they have 1 loss. So there's all sorts of things that I think are wrong with this poll. I think it's inconsistent, and I don't think it's an accurate representation of the best teams in the country. I think if I had to go with the best teams and the most dangerous teams right now, I'd probably go Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Florida State 3, Alabama 4. Those are my 4 teams right now that make me go that I'm like, wow, these are the 4 best teams.
Yeah, again, I just don't know how you can take a team that has not lost in so long and just take them out of number 1 spot for beating number 12 Missouri.
Yeah,
and number 12.
It's a good. Missouri. It wasn't a blowout game. It was a close ball game, and Missouri played well. I didn't think as we're just kind of moving into Missouri talk, I didn't think Georgia played their best game by any means. I thought they played fine. I thought Missouri was going to be a grind game. I thought it was going to be a game where you really kind of just have to. You're not going to be able to blow Missouri out. Missouri's a tough team to beat because they don't do anything wrong. And so when a team's not turning the ball over or giving you extra chances, and I know Missouri had 2 late turnovers, but Brady Cook has the longest streak all time in the SEC for pass attempts without an interception. So that's just kind of what I thought about that. Russ, tell me, is there an area on this team that concerns you after watching this Missouri game?
Well, like we talked about in the first time we did this podcast, but, nobody heard it because we had to redo it. We were talking about corners. Corners right now for Georgia are a big concern, mostly just because we're young. They're great corners. They're very talented. But they're getting picked on a little bit just because of their inexperience. A guy, Julian Humphrey, I think he's one of those guys, they picked on him a little bit, but he did come up with a a great stop on third down. Really good for momentum for Georgia, and got Georgia the ball back. So that was a great opportunity for him to show what he's got, and they just got to step up their playing to Georgia standards, I would say. I mean, it was tough having a guy like Keely Ringo leave. I mean, obviously, I said a lot of things about Keely Ringo,
player.
I thought, he's a good player, and it's tough to see a guy of that caliber go to the NFL and have some. We got like a redshirt freshman and a redshirt sophomore, or us just sophomore. I mean, we're gonna figure it out, and they're gonna be good. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, one, I mentioned Dalen Everett and kind of my concerns with him the first time. I thought we were gonna say that every time now, but another thing that's concerning me, Jamon Dumas-Johnson is injured right now. He has a fractured forearm, but he'll be able to play by Atlanta. Russ, what's really concerning me is that going into this Alabama game, I think Nick Saban, Tommy Rees, and that whole offense kind of figured out this week, hey, we can run the ball with Jalen Milroe, because Jalen Milroe really hasn't ran the ball well this year. He hasn't ran a lot, and they've been stuck running. They've been running, what's the kid's name? Jason McClellan, and they've ran, they haven't ran the ball well with them, and Milroe really has been sitting back there, and they've kind of turned him into a pocket guy. But now, as I'm sitting there and I'm watching this game Saturday, he goes for 4 rushing touchdowns, 180 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something ridiculous. And, Nick Saban is too good of a coach to see something like that and see something like that work and then just go, nah, let's not do it anymore. So I feel like he as a player and a quarterback has developed so much since we've seen him play at Texas. Because after the Texas game, I think a lot of people, including myself, kind of were like, nah, I kind of wrote Alabama off, I'll be honest. And I kind of thought to myself, that they'll be good, probably 10-2. I still thought they could win the West. But as I'm looking at it right now, I'm thinking, I do not want to play this team. And that's just my honest opinion. I do not want to play Alabama.
Yeah. And a little, go back to Dumas Johnson being hurt with a forearm injury. I mean, he's a big part of our defense, obviously, middle linebacker. The only thing that makes me a little hopeful is there's a lot of times when he's not on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, third down situations, stuff like that. He's not always on the field. So, whoever's playing behind him, I'm not sure who it is, but they're probably going to come into a role where they've played in a bunch of games and had a pretty good bit of experience.
Well, there's some good talent behind him. The true freshman, C.J. Allen, he's a guy we played against in 7-on-7 last year, if you remember, Russ, but absolute tank. That dude's a football player. And I think he's going to be, if he's the guy who steps in and starts, I'm fine with that. Dumas Johnson, to me, the biggest thing you're going to miss isn't his side-to-side movement. Dumas Johnson is a great pass rusher for a linebacker. I mean, he's like Nakobe Dean level. You remember how Nakobe Dean used to just blitz up the middle? I mean, they'd send Nakobe Dean up the middle, and nobody can block him. He's so fast. And Dumas Johnson kind of plays the same way. He's a little bit bigger than Nakobe, maybe a hair slower, but I mean, he's still a good football player. And he's a great pass rusher, and I think that's what you're going to miss. This week, for some reason, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, hey, I'm not too concerned about this game. I'm not concerned about Ole Miss because I don't really know. I haven't seen Ole Miss. I think I've seen their best, and I don't think I'm very impressed with it. I think it's going to be a close game going into the half, but I look for Georgia to pull away early in the third quarter.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at, I think our offense right now is meshing pretty good together. I'm not going to say that the absence of Brock Bowers is a good thing, but it's also, getting those guys on the outside more involved. Maybe getting their timing better with Carson Beck.
You lost Brock, but you got back Ladd. So it's kind of
Ladd has been
he's came on big
of an addition so far. Dominic Lovett, touchdown against his former team last week. I think getting him the ball is a really good idea. That dude is really good in open space, and I think just little short routes and letting him run after the catch would be phenomenal for the offense this week. Ladd McConkey, obviously, if you need a first down, he's going to find grass, throw it to him.
I kind of feel like
Oscar Delp even stepping up this week.
He's played well.
Anyway.
You mentioned Ladd and Dominic Lovett. I kind of feel like they're basically two of the same guys almost. I mean, they're great in space. They find space against zone coverage. I mean, every third down, every time you need a big play, every time you kind of need to stabilize your offense, it kind of feels like it's like, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? They're not always going to rip off an 80-yard touchdown like Brock Bowers, but, I mean, you need them. I mean, they play just as big of a role in your offense as Brock, because on third downs, Brock, especially as you go towards into the playoff and into the SEC championship and these big-time games, Brock's going to get just loads of attention. So to have these guys one-on-one on the edge or have Dominic in the slot, I mean, this is such a big bonus for this team. One of the guys that I'm kind of hoping, kind of turning on, Ra Thomas, he's played a good bit. He's kind of some games he's playing, some weeks he's not playing as much. I don't really understand. I don't know why. I don't know what has been holding him back. I think part of it is he's just not used to the schemes at UGA and not really comfortable yet in the system. But when he's out there, I mean, he's a star. He's a get-open guy.
I'd like to see them get him more involved. I mean, he's a star receiver that needs to be on the field as much as he can be out there. I mean, and he's a playmaker.
He's a phenomenal athlete. And when you talk about your downfield guys to attack downfield, I think Ra is your guy. I think Rosemary Jack Saint's a great receiver. Arian Smith has the speed. But, I mean, your guys to go up and get the ball for you, it's Ra.
Yeah, and I also Carson Beck is – I thought he played his numbers and stuff were pretty average, but personally, I think he's playing the best football he's ever played right now. I mean, really throwing the football well, in my opinion.
To build on what you said, I think he's really came into his own as a quarterback. I think he's found his niche, his rhythm, and I think he's figured out what he's got to do as a quarterback for this offense, because I mean, you could tell, he even said it before the season, he's nervous, didn't really know his role, didn't know what was really expected of him, and now he kind of understands what he's got to do every week. And, I mean, he's putting up, I mean, if there's a word to describe him, it is level and it is consistent. He's not going to he's not going to bomb you for 6 touchdowns and 400 yards and run all over you like Caleb Williams. And, a guy who's going to run for 4 touchdowns like Jalen Miro, but he's not going to go 9 for 25 with 3 picks and 110 yards and take 8 sacks. And that's
he's just playing solid to what he needs to do for us to win. I mean, and that's all we can ask of.
And I think him and his almost. I think how solid he's played, just kind of how steady he's played, has helped this offense just get in their groove and, all right, let's go. Because, at the beginning of the year, this offense was struggling. Everybody was kind of like, I didn't know really what to expect and what to see from them. But, I mean, they're playing some great football right now. Mike Bobo has this offense rolling. And once they get Brock back, I mean, sky's the limit for this team. But, Russ, I know I don't want to look too far ahead, But as we near Atlanta and near another rematch against Nick Saban, just tell me kind of what you think about a game with them.
I think that that game is going to be one of the most anticipated games ever, because if Jalen Milroe keeps playing to the standards he's playing at, I mean, he may tear up the Georgia defense. I mean, really, really and truly. We had some problems this week with what's that quarterback's name? Something Cook or something.
Yeah, Brady Cook.
Brady Cook. We had some problems with him this week running the ball. But obviously we'll be more schemed for Jalen Milroe, obviously. But, I think it'd be really anticipated. And I think that Georgia, to win that game, they're going to have to start winning the line of scrimmage a lot better than they're doing right now.
Yep.
O-line play has got to be better. Defensive line play, they have to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, any college quarterback can sit in the pocket and throw the ball and be successful. So, Georgia's got to change some things up if they want to beat Alabama.
I think it's obvious Georgia's the more talented team. I think Georgia's the better team. I think all around Georgia's miles ahead better. What worries me in a game against Alabama is this. I think Georgia will definitely bring their best stuff offensively. I think offensively they will come out and have a great first half. I think their first half will be, just pretty dominant offensively. My thing is I'm worried about a game like Alabama versus LSU where your offense just comes out and both offenses is just touchdown, 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 touchdown. And then you go into halftime and you're like, well, what do you tell your offense? Your offense is scoring, so you're not going to make any adjustments. But then Nick Saban on his defense, it's a different – that first half Alabama team versus the second half Alabama team. People talk about Georgia in the second half. No, Alabama in the second half has been the best team in the country for the past 6 weeks. They're the best team by far. They blow people out of the water in the second half because that defense tightens up. That offense keeps rolling, and they're almost so I'm worried about going into a game against Alabama because I think if it's a 2-quarter football game, Georgia beats them, but it's not, and I'm worried about because we've seen it time and time again. You look back all the way back to 2018 in the national championship game. Georgia's shutting them out like 13-0, and they come out with the drastic and almost at the time idiotic decision to put in the backup quarterback, and look what happens there. It's just you have no idea what you're going to get into with a game against Alabama, but it's going to be a fight, and it's going to be a game that goes down to the end, and that's really what's concerned me right now.
Yeah, it's never going to be easy to beat Alabama ever. No doubt. They're going to play until the end, and it's going to be a one touchdown, one field goal game. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Well, Russ, that's going to do it for today's episode of Dog Football Weekly. We hope you enjoy.